Welcome! Today, we are tackling a huge challenge that so many of us face. How do you get a handle on the constant whirlwind of projects and initiatives in a business? How do you bring order, and more importantly, strategic alignment to all that change? Well, we're going to lay out the blueprint for your very own Strategic Command Center, a model called P3O. Let's get right into it. So, does this picture look familiar? You've got projects firing off left and right, but nobody really has the complete view. Your best people are stretched way too thin, different teams are accidentally working on the same thing, and, if you're being honest, you're not 100% sure if all this frantic activity is actually pushing the company forward. It's that feeling of organized chaos. But there's a way to fix this. It's called a P3O. That stands for Portfolio, Project, and Project Office. Just think of it as the central nervous system for all the change happening in your company. Its whole mission is to give leadership the info they need to make smart decisions, and to support the teams on the ground to make sure every single initiative is on track, has the resources it needs, and gets done right.
All right, here's our game plan. We'll start with the diagnosis. What problems does a P3O actually solve? Then we'll map out the entire implementation journey. After that, we're getting into the nuts and bolts, the actual blueprint for designing one. We'll also cover the common hazards to watch out for, and we'll wrap up with the big one, the payoff.
Okay, first things first. Before we start building anything, we really need to get clear on what problem we're trying to solve. Why would you even go through all the effort of putting a P3O in place?
You know, what's so telling about this list is how all these problems feed into each other. It's like a domino effect. If you don't have that bird's eye view, you can't see that two different departments are building the exact same thing. Boom, duplication of effort. When your projects aren't directly linked to the big picture strategy, you get these pet projects that suck up time and money, but don't deliver real value. It's a system, and a P3O is designed to fix the whole system, not just one part of it. All right, so we get the why. Now let's talk about the how. And let's be real, setting up a P3O is not a weekend project. It is a major business change. The good news is there's a proven best practice roadmap we can follow. So this is the journey, and it's broken down into 4 clear stages. It all kicks off with identify. That's where you take stock of where you are right now and get the official green light to move forward. Then you get into the real heart of it, the define phase, which is all about planning. Deliver is where the rubber meets the road. You're building it and starting to see those wins. And finally, close, where it stops being a project and just becomes the new, smarter way you do business. Now, when you manage this journey, you've really got 2 options. You could try to treat it as a simple project, and maybe that works if you're setting up a tiny office. But the expert advice here is pretty clear. You should manage this as a full-blown program. And why is that? Because you're not just installing some software or writing a new process doc. You're actually changing how people think, how they behave, and the culture of the company. That kind of heavy lifting needs the discipline and structure of program management. Let's zoom in on that define phase, because it is absolutely critical. You've got these 7 key activities, and the tricky part is they're often happening all at once. You're pulling your team together, figuring out who the key players are that you need to win over, sharpening that vision, and, this is the big one, you're developing the actual blueprint for the P3O right alongside the business case that justifies it. It's a lot to juggle. Okay, time to pull out the chair at the architect's table. The P3O blueprint is that detailed plan. It's what your future command center is going to look like, what it's going to do, and how it's all going to work. A solid blueprint is built on 4 pillars. First up, processes. What will this P3O actually do? What services will it offer? Second, organization. Who's in charge? What's the governance? Who gets to make which calls? Third pillar is technology. What tools will you use? And here's the crucial bit. The tools have to fit your organization's current skill level, not the other way around. And finally, information. What data do you need, and how does it get from the project teams all the way up to the leadership dashboard so they can make good decisions? And this right here is a golden nugget of advice. As you're designing all those processes, you have to remember who you're talking to. Your senior executives are busy. They do not have time to read a 50-page manual. So if you can boil down the most important stuff, the core functions, the key workflows, onto a single, easy-to-understand page, you've got a much, much better chance of getting their attention and their buy-in. Keep it simple. Of course, a big change like this is never a straight line. There are always going to be risks and potential pitfalls, but knowing what those common hazards are ahead of time is half the battle. Forewarned is forearmed, right? And here it is, the big one, the single most common reason these things fail. You absolutely need your senior leaders to be visibly, vocally, and consistently supportive. The second that commitment starts to fade, the whole thing is in danger of grinding to a halt. So how do you prevent that? Well, rule number 1, don't even start if you don't have real agreement at the top. Then you have to prove your worth constantly. You do that by reporting on the benefits you're delivering regularly. And finally, you have to treat your executives like your most important customers. Actively manage their expectations and keep them in the loop.
So the next big threat comes from the people on the ground. A P3O means new ways of working, maybe more oversight. And for some folks, even seasoned project managers, that can feel like a loss of control. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? The very people whose job it is to deliver change can sometimes be the most resistant when the change affects them directly.
To get ahead of this, it's all about communication. You need to flag the risk of resistance to your sponsor as early as you can, so they can help champion the change from their position. And this is not about sending one mass email. You need a proper marketing and communication plan to consistently sell the vision, explain the why, and celebrate the small wins along the way.
Oh, this is such a classic trap. It is so tempting to think that if you just buy that shiny, expensive, all-singing, all-dancing software tool, all your problems will magically disappear. But here's the reality. Trying to force a complex tool on an organization that doesn't have the processes or the skills to use it is a recipe for an expensive disaster.
The smart play here is to be pragmatic. Pick a tool that matches where you are today. You know what? Maybe that means starting with some really well-designed spreadsheets that people already know how to use. That way, the learning curve is tiny. You can always add more fancy features later as your team's skills grow. Remember, let the process drive the tool, not the other way around. All right, so after navigating that whole roadmap and dodging all those hazards, we finally get to the destination, the payoff. Why did we do all this work? What's the real tangible value that a well-run P3O brings to the business? The benefits are seriously powerful. We're talking about getting more done with the people and money you already have. That's increased throughput. You stop wasting money on projects that aren't actually aligned with your strategy. And maybe most importantly, you get way better at actually achieving the business benefits that those projects were supposed to deliver from day one. This is where a P3O really pays for itself, many times over.
But I have to share one last sobering statistic. Over half of all PPOs are shut down within 5 years. That's a huge number. And why? Well, the most common reason is that they simply fail to prove their value over time. They start to be seen as just an administrative cost center instead of the strategic asset they're meant to be.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. It is not enough to just build a P3O. You have to actively run it. So you have to ask yourself, are you set up to measure its performance? Are you tracking the value it's creating? And crucially, are you marketing those successes back to your leadership? Or is your strategic command center at risk of becoming just another forgotten statistic? The choice really is yours.